And welcome to lesson 5.3. Here's your objective. I will be able to compare and order integers. So we have two jobs today. We're going to compare, meaning seeing which one's greater and lesser than, and we're going to order our integers, put them in order. Alright, so let's get going. First of all, comparing integers. We need to know that negative numbers are lesser than positive numbers. So here's 0. Anything on the left side of 0 will be less than anything on the right side of 0. So let's take a look at our first example. Well, even before we get into that, we need to remember the sign. We need to remember that the smaller number will always eat the bigger number, okay? And the bigger number will always get eaten by the smaller number. All right, so we need to remember those signs. All right, here we go. I have -3, and I'm going to compare it with 2. One of them smaller, one of them's bigger. If I look on my number line, I see that -3 is over here, and 2 is way over here. So clearly, 2 is greater than -3. Even though the integer of 3 is a larger number, it's negative. So negative is smaller than a positive number. Any negative will be smaller than any positive number. So -3 is less than 2. -3 will eat the 2, and there's your sign. All right. The next example I have up here is 4 comparing to -5. Well, 4 is a positive number right over here, and -5 is a negative number way down there. So 4 is clearly greater than 5. So 4 is greater than 5. My lower number eats my bigger number, and there it is, comparing integers. So we have a few more examples here. Now you might see a huge number like 470. Well, you have to realize there's a negative sign right there. So even though 470 by itself would be much greater than 2, it's negative. So -470 is so much smaller than 2. So -470 is less than 2, and it's going to eat 2. We have 5 and -73. Once again, 73 seems like a big number, but since it's negative, it is actually a really small number. It's a lot less than 5. So 5 is greater than -73, and -73 eats the 5. Our last example, now we have two negative numbers. Well, which one is further away from 0? -7 is further away from 0, so that's the smaller number. So -7 will be less than -5. All right, -7 will eat the -5. So the further away from 0 you are on the negative side, the lesser you are. Now, some vocabulary to talk about. If you hear me use the word inequalities, what is an inequality? They are differences with numbers. So like the numbers 4 and 6, they're not equal. They're an inequality. 4 is less than 6. So every number, when you compare them with another number, will be an inequality unless they are the same number. So let's write an inequality for this story. You might not be able to see it too well, but here's my story. Nikki, the wonderful Nikki, has a score of 3 in the trivia game. Good for her. Joe's score is -4 because he got every question wrong, like I typically do. Write an inequality to compare their scores. Well, Nikki's score was 3. Joe's score was -4. So an inequality is comparing these two numbers because they're not equal. All right, well, 3 is greater than -4, so there's my inequality for that story. You'll see some of those examples in your books tomorrow. 3 is greater than -4. That was the inequality from this story. Now, the second half of the lesson, if we go back to our objective, we had two things. We've been comparing integers. Now we have to order them, which I think you'll find very easy. I have these 5 numbers right here. 4, -2, 3, 5, and -5. I have to order them from least to greatest. So what is my smallest number on here? Well, the further away I get from 0 on the negative side is the lesser of a number. So I'm going to circle all my numbers I have on here. I have a 4, I have a -2, I have a 3, I have a 5, and I have a -5. So now that I've circled all my numbers in my number line, it's pretty easy to see which one's the smallest and which one's greatest. -5 is the furthest to the left, the furthest away from 0, so -5 is first. Put my comma sign, then I have -2, then I have 3, and I have a 4, and my greatest number out of those bunch is my 5. I just order them from least to greatest. You'll see some of these examples in your book tomorrow as well. Tonight, you don't have too much work for me. You just have to compare a couple of inequalities here. You have 3 questions. You're going to solve which one is lesser than or greater than. You have 17 and 31. You're going to compare those inequalities. You're going to compare -6 to -10. I know it might be kind of small screen you might have, but make sure you see that there's a negative there and a negative there. And number 3, you have -83 compared to -38. Both those numbers are negative. All right, good luck, and I'll see you tomorrow.